The Lakers lose Game 6, 113-100. They will not be a repeat this year. They're not going to go back-to-back. In the end, the AD injury was too much to overcome. He tried to play. He tried to give it a go. It was just not there. It was evident since the beginning that he could not move, that groin was going to be a problem. And 5 minutes in, trying to defend Booker, he re-aggravates it and he can't play. And the Lakers just came out super flat. It was very disappointing. In the last podcast, in the last episode, I said it's going to be very evident if the Lakers are going to win or if they're going to lose this game by the way they come out in the first, with if their energy's right, if they're hustling, if they're playing scrappy defense, and they weren't. They were down 36-14 after the first quarter. You could just tell things weren't going to go right. They tried to make a run in the third quarter. They cut it down to 10 points at one point, but they just didn't have it in them to bring it back, to bring it all the way home. Shout out to Chris Paul. He deserves this. I hope the Suns go deep because Chris Paul deserves the championship. I don't think they have enough to win the whole thing, but we'll see how far they get. Shout out to Booker, assassin, a dog. He was the best player out there. He completely 22 points in the first quarter. Ridiculous stuff, just putting that team on his back. When the Lakers were making a run at the end, when it was like a 10-point game, 13-point game, when they were lingering, when it looked like they could pounce, that they could come back, Devin Booker, closed that book, shut down that door, and said, nope, you guys aren't coming back. We're not going back to Phoenix. Let's end it right here. So props to him for a ridiculous, stupid, amazing game. It was so good. Devin Booker has arrived. And for the Lakers, it looked like LeBron wasn't 100%. He had a couple drives where he looked like the old LeBron, but there was definitely too much. He was too passive. He looked timid to attack. Some people are calling it father time. I think it has to do more with the injury. It might just be my optimism, but he was the MVP, the leading MVP candidate when he got hurt. And he looked explosive throughout the season. He looked good. He looked like he was the same old LeBron. And since he's come back from that ankle injury, he hasn't been the same. So for that, I think the Lakers really need the rest. It's going to be good for them. That short offseason since winning the championship in the bubble, and the shortest offseason in NBA history. I think it's the shortest offseason in any American sport in history. So it took out the Lakers. The Heat couldn't get it done either in the East. And now we'll see who the Lakers keep going forward. Is Schroeder going to stay? What's going to happen with Kuzma? What's going to happen with Drummond? There's a lot of questions to be asked. Personally, I think Kuzma, he needs to get it together. He had an awful game. The eye test is not there. He's been regressing since they've traded for AD. So we got to see what happens with Kuz. Schroeder, he didn't show up at all when we needed him. But the Lakers are kind of have they don't have a lot of moves to be made. They traded a lot of assets for AD. The cap, they're pretty much at the cap. So we'll see what Pelinka does. And Pelinka we trust, but there's not too many moves. So Laker fans, don't be surprised if Schroeder comes back. Don't be surprised if we still have Kuz next year. I know there's a lot of jokes going on there that Kuz is going to go to China because he's terrible. But don't be surprised if the roster pretty much looks the same when next season starts. I am curious to see which free agents we pick up, if any. But we definitely need shooters. When we're making that run, it was a bunch of twos, not too many threes. So a couple of threes here and there could have really sparked, could have really energized the Lakers to really come all the way back. But there just wasn't enough shooting on the court. LeBron wasn't healthy. And the Suns were just good. They were making a lot of shots. So props to the Suns. We'll see how far they get. They're a very exciting team. Their coach he's an awesome coach. I'm rooting for him. And Devin Booker, he's easy to root for. I hope he goes deep. He mentioned Kobe, that Kobe was in the building, and I mean he might have been. He was one of Booker's mentors. He looked up to Kobe. Kobe really liked Booker. He talked great about Booker. So it didn't surprise me that Booker showed up in an elimination game and dropped 40 plus points on the Lakers. These future NBA stars are here. They're starting to make a name for themselves. I'm talking about Booker. I'm talking about Trae Young, Luka, Jason Tatum. It's nice to see, but hopefully for the Lakers and for the NBA, Um, hopefully LeBron looked this way because of the injury and not because Father Time is finally starting to beat him. But we'll see next season. The Lakers are going to enjoy this long offseason, and we'll see how far the Suns get. It was a good series before AD got hurt, before Chris Paul got hurt. Towards the end, it was the Suns went 3 in a row, and that's that.